Hello, everyone. It's another informative episode of Sports and the Geopolitical Economy on Omegate Radio Communications. I'm your anchor, Abiodun Abari, and it's great to have you. I hope our engagement last time out has helped broaden your horizon and deepen your insights into how to optimally navigate the turbulent waters of international engagement. I'm here to give you objective and fact-based analytical and actionable insights, invaluable definitely to proactive and optimal use of your organization's resources. It's crucial that in taking advantage of the influence of sports in positively impacting the lot of fortune of your organization, especially through sponsorship of sports business events. Cognizance must be taken of the coloration imposed by geopolitics. Recall that in the last quarter, I extensively spoke about how brands that engage in sports sponsorship profit from increased brand awareness, loyalty, culminating in increased visibility, patronage, market share, and of course revenues. I even gave you a case of Vivo, one of the official sponsors of the FIFA 2022 World Cup, achieving record-breaking numbers in the fourth quarter of 2023 by reaching a customer base of 113 million and having 23.1% increase in year-on-year net profits. However, occurrences such as the controversial parody of the legendary Leonardo da Vinci's depiction of the Last Supper by drag queens and transgenders at the opening ceremony of the ongoing Summer Olympics in Paris was found distasteful by Christians around the world, and condemnations and calls of boycotts have been unabated. This apologies by the French Olympic Committee, who are the local organizers of the international sports spectacle. People have tried and struggled to explain or justify this pushing of the envelope by the French Olympic Committee. But my opinion is that Monsieur Emmanuel Macron, who's France's president, actually pandered to the far left. Okay, that's actually coalesced with his own centrist party to deliver a crushing defeat on the far right of Madame Marine Le Pen. Of course, you have to know that she has been trying desperately to shed off that toga of far right, and she likes to present herself as a centrist. Okay, so that coalition between Macron's centrist party and the far left in the second round of voting during the recently concluded French elections, where after the far right put up a good showing in the first round of voting, okay, that created apprehension within the camp of Monsieur Macron. So they had to go into a coalition with the far left to be able to come out victorious. And recall that Monsieur Macron actually called for early elections, after the dam was breaking with he and his party and being rejected in the European parliamentary elections, And that was not just limited to France, Germany's really left also lost out in the parliamentary elections. So I think that controversial scene was like a thank you or a virtue signaling, as it were, by Monsieur Macron to the far left for helping them move the needle in the second round of voting through the coalition. So, very importantly, I believe that this controversy leading to the condemnation and calls for boycott will definitely have an effect on the level of audience and patronage of this particular edition of the Olympics, and thereby maybe discounting the expected benefits for brands involved in the sponsorship. However, the level of significance still needs to be effectively determined. Okay. So before I cut right to the chase regard what I have in store for you today, let's refresh our minds with my interaction with you last episode, when I was able to establish the concept of the geopolitical economy as a Marxist skepticism of the contemporary established theories of international relations and international political economy, which advance globalization and, of course, hegemonic tendencies. Okay, globalization, a situation where states are underplayed and do not matter, and hegemony, where only one state matters. So the geopolitical economy is Totalist approach, challenging and providing an alternative view to the existing understanding of international relations in the capitalist global economy, and is predicated upon three main arguments. Okay, we have the theory of materiality of political entities, which are states, emphasizing the important role states have to play as indispensable social actors in managing the contradiction imposed by capitalism at its way, the contradictory value production, because capitalism as against a command economic approach, it reflects, that chaos coming from the relatively free interaction of market forces, right? So that's contrasting the order and exerted by a command economic approach. Then, of course, the uneven and combined fashion of capitalism brings about an inevitable situation of multipolarity, because you are having imperialism and anti-imperialism as engines for international relations of capitalism. So, for imperialism as an approach by first world countries, the core of capitalism, advancing their own development to the detriment of development elsewhere. And of course, anti-imperialism as a response by developmental states in preventing, limiting, and counteracting imperialism. And I was able to conclude that the latter is prevailing in creating a multipolar world, as evidenced by the acceptance, performance, and expansion of BRICS, and of course the Russia-Ukraine conflict as a reflection of political realism. And you also have the China's dominance of the South China Sea, proliferation of communication satellites, and the exclusivity of Russia in the Arctic Circle with their nuclear-powered icebreaker. And third, counter-globalization and U.S. hegemonic theories, the United States hegemonic theories. I describe the concept of the geopolitical economy as an antithesis to globalization. Globalization is a situation where states are underplayed and do not matter, and the U.S. hegemony, where the interests of only one state is factored. The geopolitical economy expressly sees the U.S. hegemony as an ideology rather than a theory. Okay, mirroring distinct phases of the United States' rapacious pursuit of its elusive hegemonic ambition. So today we are lacing our shoes and sprinting away by looking at how the emergence and potency of the geopolitical economy has impacted sports, how sports has evolved through the lens of the geopolitical economy. First, it's important to know that elite sports in the 19th century and early 20th centuries was hinged on the principles of the greatest good for the greatest number, which of course is the European utilitarian principle, right? So, the vision of sports organizations in general then was actually to serve the interests of the native population, and their societies, their communities, the local people. All right. So this dovetailed into the dominant European stance in sports, and that we have that manifesting in the creation of the sports governing organizations. They were at the forefront, the Europeans, they were at the forefront, and they were able to establish organizations like the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, which is FIFA, and the International Olympic Committee, and of course the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, the FIA, which was in the first quarter of the 20th century, and Europe and were led by Europeans. The metamorphosis of sports, however, from just a sociocultural pursuit to its commercialization, could be associated with the rise of the United States after the Second World War and the dominance of its free market approach to the global economy. And so today we can talk about the sports industry, of course. Yes, a sports industry. We have the media, we have media and broadcast rights, corporate sponsorships, merchandise sales, image rights, and other commercial collaborations, innovations that have characterized the sporting space. Okay, so a glaring instance of this phenomenon is the English Premier League. When it was founded in 1992, you had ticket sales, for games, accounting for over 50% of revenue for clubs. But now you're having media and broadcast rights and other forms of revenue accounting for more than half of their total revenue. So that's a significant shift. All right. So the late 20th century and the first decade of the 21st century presented a situation where the North Americans and the Europeans, which I will depict as the global North, dominated the hosting of elite sports events. Okay, but you reckon that these times are actually changing, and China has since hosted 2 Olympics. Okay. South Africa emerged as the first African nation to host the FIFA Men's World Cup. And Qatar, too, the first nation in the Middle East to host the FIFA Men's World Cup in 2022. South Africa did that in 2010. Okay, so, and also you have Saudi Arabia investing greatly in sports. Okay, they'll be able to host elite sporting events in the racing and combat sports in world, and specifically we have them hosting the first undisputed world heavyweight championship fight in boxing in 25 years, and the first in the 4-belt era, with Ukrainian Alexander Usyk defeating British Tyson Fury via a split decision in Riyadh. So the global South, coming into its own as it concerns elite sports, presents a situation where we talk about the geopolitical economy of sports as a concept. It must, however, be said that China took advantage of cross-border capital flows and market openings occasioned by the rise of globalization in aligning its own domestic re-engineering, becoming a more regular host of global sporting events, with more Chinese brands bringing out funds to sponsor global elite sports events, as China's economic stance improved. Also, you see that the success, the successful adoption of digital technology in today's world has impacted greatly on the metamorphosis of sports. The advent of digital satellite broadcasting technology, has impacted on how sport is consumed and is improving revenues greatly for sporting organizations, helping them build and maintain this global appeal. Okay, the NBA of the United States and the English Premier League are very good examples. Yeah. And we should not also forget this streaming bug too has not spared sports, creating massive revenue increases. reckon that Netflix has a motor racing series called Drive to Survive. Okay, and we cannot also discount the effect of social media, and how it has shaped the way sports is presented and consumed, and of course the evolution of the gaming consoles, utilizing cutting-edge digital technology, to bring largely satisfying consumer experiences. Yes, I also talk about the controversial issue of climate change. This also has been consequential in accounting for the intersection of sports and the geopolitical economy. You see that incentives are being provided by globalist organizations like the World Economic Forum, to major fossil fuel players like Saudi Arabia, trying to get their buy-in, and so that they can get into the climate agenda. Okay, so apart from technology that is being dangled before Saudi Arabia, you also see that Saudi itself, which has 40% of its GDP from the production of fossil fuel, trying to invest heavily in sports, as a response to the steady and continuous shift away from fossil fuel in the world, so that in order to further diversify revenue and make the economy more resilient. Okay, so we see that Formula One races, are being hosted in Saudi, and the Riyadh season 2. It's something that is of significant impact in the boxing world. All right. Yeah, the influence of the global south has seeped into sports governance. So we have an Emirati, as Mohammed bin Sulayem, who was elected in 2022, to lead the FIA, and significantly, he is the first non-European leader to lead the FIA. So the critical role played by governments too in driving sports engagement cannot be overemphasized. So you see that states are increasingly playing a critical role in management and projection of sports, as a tool, bringing to bear the investments and aligning them with their geopolitical ambitions. Okay, so the Saudi Arabia Public Investments Fund has significantly supported the sports policy of the states. All right, and in Hungary too, the Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who recently assumed the EU presidency, although it's not popular among the EU nations, but the presidency is rotational. It's not popular for his peace approach, and for his peace approach to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. He went to China, he went to Russia, and I think he's trying to get a solution, and even visited former President Trump, trying to get a peaceful resolution to the conflict. I know that his own country is landlocked. Okay, and because of that, Hungary and Slovakia were actually granted concessions to still be receiving Russian oil. Since they don't have any alternative. But I think recently Ukraine sabotaged that, and because of Viktor Orban's recent peace moves, and Slovakia, who is also affected, has responded to Ukraine that it's going to try and also disturb its diesel supply. That Slovakia is responsible for 10% of diesel supply in Ukraine. So you see that Viktor Orban himself invested over 3 billion euros in football. Okay, and of course you look at China's stadium diplomacy, helping project soft power and influence in Africa, giving it access to the vast natural resources in Africa needed to power Chinese industries, Chinese economic growth, and Chinese development. And the continuous increase of private equity investment too should not be lost on us. It's important to observe the feeling of the growth of the sports industry, by the activities of global capitalists. Yeah, for instance, 10 out of the 20 clubs competing in the upcoming 2024-2025 season of the English Premier League have United States owners. Okay, particularly City Football Group, which of course owns Manchester City, which FIFA has said is the best club in the world now. It's according to ranking. It's owned by Silver Lake, as a US-based investment outfit, and Emirati and Chinese outfits. Okay, and reckon that Silver Lake itself is also involved with the Ambanis from India, right? The popular Ambanis, the richest man is in Asia, so to speak, in owning the India's Reliance. Okay, India's Reliance is heavily involved in the India Premier League cricket. Okay, so the geopolitical economy of sports is exemplified, by physical geography of, the Gulf nations, who are endowed with oil and gas deposits, and using, the revenue provided by this oil and gas exploration and exploitation of these resources of this oil and gas deposits for their own lofty sports ambitions, driving of investment in sports considerably. Also, the human factor in the geographical landscape is also changing, as evidenced, with China's increasing willingness to naturalize talented sports people who have familiar ties to China, but who are born outside the country. I know that China itself does actually naturalizes less than 3,000 people yearly. But in order to improve its standing in especially in men's football, they have been more liberal about naturalization. Yeah, the political factor too in the geographical landscape is also evident. Okay, you see, remember when Monsieur Macron, France's president, was able to stall Kylian Mbappe's move to Real Madrid before now, although he has moved to Real Madrid now, but he was supposed to move earlier. But Monsieur Macron felt that Mbappe, who is of mixed heritage, it's very, very important in envisioning in this diverse, cosmopolitan and modern France, right? So he cultivated a very personal relationship, strong and cordial personal relationship with Kylian Mbappe, and even earlier this year, Mbappe appealed to the France's electorate to shun the far right. All right. So politics-wise, sports has been a messaging platform. All right. I mean, from the spreading of propaganda in the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Right. So, I mean, further episodes in the quarter, we'll be looking at specific cases, that we will analyze and be able to get insights, all right? So we'll be able to break them down, these cases, we'll be able to learn and be able to improve our understanding of sports and the geopolitical economy and how we can actually impact our businesses positively in the international environment, all right? And of course, the distasteful parody of Lino Dan Vinci's painting of the Last Supper in the opening ceremony of this year's Summer Olympics in Paris, all right? So that was actually passing a message, all right? So sports itself, people are being, it's a very platform, and people nations use it to pass a political message, all right? So nations also use sports as a way to improve their infrastructure and build their nations. You see Qatar investing over $250 billion to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup. and that has greatly impacted its transport infrastructure amidst under civil infrastructure in that country, right? And we should not forget what Shinzo Abe, the late Prime Minister of Japan, who I want to refer to as the father of modern Japanese nationalism. And I must comment at this juncture that his death has actually, set Japanese nationalism, the resurgence of Japanese nationalism back maybe by a century. Maybe even the current Prime Minister was his protege. So, Shinzo Abe's influence on Japanese landscape cannot be underplayed. And he was assassinated during a rally in the country where gun violence is zero. And, of course, I have my own reservations about that, because I always try to analyze about what happens. Okay, when you have maybe somebody pandering to globalists in the White House, or if the U.S. White House is pandering to nationalism, when they pander to globalization, it's intervention, it's always pervasive, and we can really try to analyze the number of top figures that have been sort of neutralized since the globalist takeover of the White House in 2021. From Haiti, and to others. Well, that will be the topic of discussion for another day, because I believe that the situation where you have a nationalist in the White House will help advance the cause of anti-imperialistic, anti-imperial tendencies, and developmental states be able to come into their own and have a stake in the global economy. All right. So right after the 2011 tsunami episode, he launched the Cool Japan initiative, which culminated in Japan hosting the 2020 Olympic Games, which of course was held in 2021 due to the lockdown in 2020. Right? And Saudi Arabia too, using sports to diversify its revenue, addressing the gender gap, right? And of course, improving the health of its diabetes and hypertension prevalent citizenry. So using sports as a tool to improve the health of its own citizens, so that they can become more competitive in the global game as life expectancy is impacted positively. So we can reckon that the geopolitical economy of sports is complex and intertwined with the global north as dominant and the global south, taking the game to them. And, the way nations, businesses and sports, consumers, nations, businesses, sports consumers, the way they engage with sports is influenced by geographic, economic and political factors. All right. Australia's support of the development of the rugby league in the South Pacific may go beyond sporting and economic interests and tend towards soft power and diplomacy in actually checking the influence of China in the region. So elite sports as of today has moved from the old order of utilitarianism, and the rise of the global south on the sporting side of things has actually come to stay. Yes, I will be drawing the curtains on today's episode, and please do never ever forget that at Amogate we are always ready to help and support your organizations to work optimally, creating frameworks and processes for optimization of resources and attainment of goals. You can contact us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Amogate. You can call us on +234 810 999 666. You can also visit our website at www.theamogate.org. Our email is contact@theamogate.org. I hope that the time we've spent together has been rewarding and worthwhile. And I can affirm that it's been my pleasure. And till I come up on your devices again, it's bye for now. Thank you.